Today, we are going to put together demand and supply and solve for a market equilibrium. We're going to rely on some college algebra. So if you're feeling a little rusty about college algebra, you need to brush up on college algebra, specifically on how to plot a graph using a linear equation and solving multiple equations simultaneously. I have uploaded those video clips in the folder of lecture notes. So please take a look at it if you haven't done that. Okay? It is very important that we have the college algebra skills to proceed. So here's the demand and supply curve separately. So let's take a look at the demand curve first. Okay? So this demand curve is derived from a linear equation, the demand equation, given by Q sub D. Q sub D is used to denote quantity demanded, equal to 90,000 minus 25P. So this is a linear equation. This is how a linear equation is written. Okay, Q equal to A minus B times P. Okay. So how do we go from here? P is equal to price, by the way. So how do we go from this demand equation, this linear equation, into this graph? Okay. So the easier way is to write the linear equation in the inverse form, with P as the variable on the vertical axis, or the so-called y variable, if you recall what you learned in your college algebra. So we want to have P on the left-hand side. Okay? So how do we go from here to here? Okay. So what we can do is we have this linear equation in this form. So divide both sides by 25. Okay. So divide both sides by 25, or negative 25, I'm sorry, negative 25. Okay. Then we will have this form. We will have the demand equation in the inverse form. Okay. So now let's go to 3 questions. So just to refresh your memory in your college algebra. So what is the y-intercept? What is the slope? So if we go from this equation here, the inverse form, what is the y-intercept? What is the slope? Okay. So by knowing this, it can help us plot the demand curve, the linear demand curve. And then lastly, if the price is $2,000, how much is the quantity demanded? So let's take a pause, so you can pause your video for 5 minutes and then try to solve these 3 problems. We'll come back to this after 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back. Did we pause the video and spend some time? If not, pause it now and try to work on these three exercises. So if you recall what you learned in college algebra, if we have the linear equation in this form, the y-intercept will be this number here. And the slope is the number next to the x variable in your college algebra, whereas in this case that's a q. Okay. So in this case the y-intercept is 3600 and the slope is negative 0.04. Or if there is enough data points, that means at least 2 points on the line that you know that you have the numbers, then what you can do is to take the difference, okay, between the y variable, which is in this case the p, and divide it by the difference between the two x variable, in this case that's q. So you get this slope. So take a look at the curve. So this is what we mean, the vertical distance. So when you get the slope, you take the vertical distance divided by the horizontal distance of any 2 points on the line. So here in this case, let's say we pick these 2 points, okay? So the vertical distance will be 1,000, the difference between the price, divided by the difference between two corresponding quantity, okay? That's 25, okay? 1,000 divided by 25,000, okay? 25,000, all right? So that's what we get. And then the last question, if we are given that the price is $2,000, so what would be the quantity demanded? So what we do is we plug this into the equation, plug the number into the equation. Price is equal to 2,000, and then you solve for Q. The quantity demanded, okay, then that will give us $40,000, okay? So in case some of you are still not sure, how do we get from here to here? You divide both sides by negative 0.04, negative 0.04, then you get this, okay? So next thing is we want to solve for the market equilibrium. The market equilibrium occurs when the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. So graphically, that occurs at the intersection here, where the demand curve crosses the supply curve. So in this case, the equilibrium quantity is 40,000 motorbikes, and the equilibrium price is $2,000. So suppose we don't have these numbers. All we have is the demand and the supply equation. How do we get the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity? So we know that at the equilibrium, quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So what that means is we set them equal, set these two equations equal, and we solve them simultaneously. So I'm gonna have you pause the video for 10 minutes So if you haven't done that, you can watch the video clips that I uploaded in the folder of lecture notes on solving equations simultaneously, and then try to solve for the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. Okay. So let's pause for 10 minutes. Pause your video for 10 minutes. So welcome back. If you haven't paused your video just now to try to solve for the market equilibrium, please do so now. It is very important that we have that hands-on experience in solving problems. So let's solve them together. So by setting these two equations together, okay, so we have the demand equation equal to the supply equation. So that's what the definition of equilibrium means, right? Quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Then the next thing I would do is to collect the terms. So to gather the terms, so 25 plus 25, so we get them together on one side, and then this to the other side, okay? 90,000 plus 10,000. So when you pull this to the other side, that will become 100,000. So then we can solve for the price. The price will be $2,000 if you divide both sides by 50. Okay. And then the next thing we would do in order to solve for the equilibrium quantity is you can plug this price into either one of these equations, because at the equilibrium these two are the same. So what I do now is to plug the price into the demand equation. Then the quantity demanded, or the equilibrium quantity in this case, would be $40,000. Okay, so that's what we get. $2,000 and then 40,000 motorbikes. Okay,